Bright Cutie. Every student matters.
Hello everyone. So students, let's start our new topic here, that is towards civil disobedience for chapter number 3, that is rise of nationalism in India. Now here students, before this topic we have discussed about the non-cooperation movement, and in non-cooperation movement we saw how people from different arenas they participated in the movement and what the term Swaraj meant for them. Now in this topic students, you have learnt a lot about all the people, right? All the people as in the poor people, the peasants and the tribal peasants, as well as the plantation workers. For them, the term Swaraj or the interpretations of the word Swaraj was quite different, right? We tried to understood that. But we also saw that the non-cooperation movement that was launched by Mahatma Gandhi was a non-violent movement. But was it the scenario there, students? No, because we saw how these peasants they started attacking the houses of talukdars and the rich landlords. So therefore, there was this situation of chaos at many places, right? And therefore, out of this pressure, Gandhiji had to withdraw the whole non-cooperation movement. But what was that incident that led to the withdrawal of non-cooperation movement? So it was the Chora incident, about which we are going to learn right now. So it was in the year 1922 and the month is February. So in this year, what are we seeing? That Gandhiji decided to withdraw the non-cooperation movement. But what was the reason behind it? So the main reason was the mob violence that took place at Chora near Gorakhpur in UP. UP as in Uttar Pradesh. So it was in the year 1922 that a mob violence took place. Where students? Chora. So you have to remember this name here. Quite important incident it was. And what happened here? So the people, mob as in the common people who were armed, so what did they do? They burned the police station, and all the police officers who were present at that police station, they were burnt alive. And this was something serious, right? Something serious that happened here. And Gandhiji, he totally condemned this act. And as a result of it, he decided to withdraw the whole movement. Why? Because he understood that people have yet not understood the concept of satyagraha that was totally based on truth and non-violence. On the contrary, people here, they are getting involved in this violence, right? So Gandhiji suspended the movement and declared that Swaraj could not be attained through violence. One thing that he was totally against. So this is how the non-cooperation movement, it came to an end. So here you can see in the map students, this is Chora. You can see this is the map of Uttar Pradesh. And in Uttar Pradesh near Gorakhpur, we have this small place known as Chora. Now here you can see this is the Shaheed Smarak of Chora, as in the place where this incident took place. There has been a Smarak built there for the policemen who died there, right? Now, what happened after the Chora incident? So after that, there was a severe criticism within the Congress itself. Now I've told you earlier that there were many leaders who were not following the ideologies of Mahatma Gandhi. Why? Because they did not agree with him. Because they believed in radical actions, in revolutionary moves, right? So therefore, they were not in favor of non-violence. Also, the movement showed the overall overall participation of rich, poor, Hindus and Muslims. Yes, students, this was Hindu-Muslim united movement there, right? Because the Khilafat movement was also taking place, and in the same way, the non-cooperation movement was launched. So this showed the Hindu-Muslim unity at many places. Now, some Congress leaders, they wanted to challenge the government by entering into councils. Now, you have to understand the scenario here. What was happening? Now, people, they were having different opinions. They were getting aware of the whole situation in our country. And now, they wanted to challenge the British government. So, some were in the favor of non-violence, walking on the path of Satyagraha. Some wanted radical movements there, right? Radical actions to be taken place. But there were some people who believed that they could challenge the government by entering into councils, by elections. So as a result of it, what happened? All the councils that were formed, they were not truly democratic, right? So obviously, like today we are voting, we have voting rights in our country. You must have heard the term universal adult franchise. So the right to vote. At that time, not all people had the right to vote. So here also, these councils were not totally democratic. So they were not respecting the views of all the people. Right? And what happened as a result of it? There were two nationalist leaders and their names were Chittaranjan Das and Motilal Nehru. Now please do not get confused with the name here, that is Motilal Nehru. Many students, they get confused that Jawaharlal Nehru and Motilal Nehru, they are the same person. No, students. So Motilal Nehru and Chittaranjan Das, they were two important people who started or formed the Swaraj Party. Now why was this Swaraj Party formed? Or when was this Swaraj Party formed? So it was formed in the year 1922 or 23, around that, and it was fought within the they formed this Swaraj Party to fight for the council seats. Now they decided to challenge the British government by entering the councils, right? And therefore they fought for the council seats by forming the Swaraj Party within the Congress organization here. So these are the images, Motilal Nehru and C.R. Das. At the same time, we see some other changes happening here. And one of the most important changes here, that was the coming up of Simon Commission in India. So we are seeing that people are getting aware, political leaders are now taking challenging decisions. Now they want to challenge the government as well, right? And therefore they are entering the councils and they are fighting for the council seats. So these changes were taking place. At the same time, in Britain, the ruling government there, that was the Tory government. What did they decide? So they decided that a statutory commission was basically formed. So they had to make laws, and it was formed under John Simon. So this commission was formed under John Simon and it was named as Simon Commission. Now why was this commission formed, students? Let us understand that. Now here look at this image, B.R. Ambedkar with all the members of Simon Commission. So the main work of the commission was to look into the functioning of constitutional system in India and suggest changes. So in simple terms, they had to suggest some constitutional reforms in India. So this is the image of John Simon, under whom the Simon Commission was formed. But why were people who were living in India were agitated with this Simon Commission? What was the reason behind it? So you must have heard of this proverb, that was, "Go back Simon," right? So this proverb was used when the Simon Commission, it arrived in India. So here the commission, they did not have any Indian member, and it thus created problems among Indians. Definitely, now they had to suggest the constitutional reforms there, right? They had to suggest if any changes were required in these constitutional system. And remember this part, that they are deciding for our country. But in this Simon Commission, there was no single member belonging to our country. So therefore, it was an insult for the people of India. And they decided to boycott the whole Simon Commission. Okay? And that is why the slogan, "Go Back Simon," was raised. Right? As you can see in these banners here. So it did not have any members and it was an insult for Indians. In 1927, in Madras session, the Congress session that took place there, it was presided by Dr. M.A. Ansari, and he decided to boycott the commission. So unanimous decision there that everyone decided to boycott the commission. In 1928, Simon Commission, it arrived in India, and people greeted him with the slogan, that is, "Simon, go back," because they did not want to welcome these people, right? Apart from this, there is an interesting fact here that in Lahore, Lala Lajpat Rai was leading the demonstration against the Simon Commission, but he was brutally lathi charged there, and he died later that year due to injuries sustained in this attack. So Lala Lajpat Rai, again, he was an extremist leader. You must have heard the name of Lal, Bal and Pal. So Lala Lajpat Rai was one of them, and he was brutally lathi charged there, and he had sustained the injuries from that attack, and later that year he died. Okay? Apart from this, now they are not welcoming the Simon Commission. So what happened next? In 1929, Lord Irwin, the Governor General at that time, now he gave an offer for the Dominion status in an unspecified future and a round table conference to discuss the constitution. Now we saw that in 1928, Simon Commission was unwelcomed in our country. Now the Britishers, they were also quite confused and furious as in what to do next. Now they were seeing that the people of our country, they were not happy with the British government and how they were treating the Indians. So therefore, they had to bring out a new tactic in order to appease these people. So in 1929, here Lord Irwin, he offered a Dominion status. Now, do you understand the term that is Dominion status, students? Dominion status here, it means giving semi-independent or semi-independent countries, as we can say in today's context. Now, this term was used when we are talking about the British Empire. So, basically, any colony that was under the British Empire was given autonomy or was given independence, but not full independence. They were autonomous, but they owed their allegiance to the crown. So they were given some freedom, right? So these small territories, now they were independent or autonomous, but they owed their allegiance to the crown. The crown was still the head, and they were to be dominion of the crown. So this was the situation here, giving the dominion status to our country as well, that we are going to owe our allegiance to the queen, the crown in Britain, and we were going to get some powers, right? Some autonomy, but not full independence. So here we saw that Lord Irwin was saying that he is going to give this status to the Indians. And in the wake of that, a new constitution was drafted, and the constitution was drafted under the leadership of Motilal Nehru, who was one of the founders of the Swaraj Party, right, in 1928. According to the Nehru report, he presented a constitution for India on the lines of self-governing dominions within the British government. So he was focusing on self-governance, but under the British government. Let us try to understand how these situations were now changing. But before that, let's get to our exercise section here. So the first question here in very short answer question is, who formed the Swaraj Party? Now can you answer this question, students? Yes, we read it right now. The two important leaders here are Motilal Nehru and Chittaranjan Das or C.R. Das. So this would be the answer for this question here. Again, second question is, why were the Indians against the Simon Commission? Yes, quite simple to write, right? Because we read about Simon Commission right now. And I told you that Simon Commission that was formed under John Simon consisted of all white members and no Indians. This was an insult for the Indians, and therefore they decided to boycott the commission. So this is the answer that you are going to write in this question here. That in the Simon Commission there were all white members and there was no Indian member, and therefore it was an insult for the people of India and they decided to boycott the whole commission. Right? This is very short answer questions, so you have to write this.